Wonderful Wednesday, a fabulous Wednesday. It's a great time to talk about Wellness Wednesdays. And my guest, Dr. Staff, you're in the mood already. You were swinging and swaying and
they
clicking.
brought us in,
yes,
right?
the bum
That's
parts,
singing,
yes.
definitely the bum parts. And as Carrie said, they put us in a positive mood.
Right.
But Lisa,
Yeah.
that singing actually releases endorphins within your mind, within your brain,
right.
and automatically puts us in that positive upliftment mood.
Yes.
So a little way to introduce wellness into your life. Sing, dance a little more. This
Dance.
is why.
That's why I'm always dancing on the show, right? And shimmying, because you feel better. You do. You absolutely feel better.
Definitely. So good morning,
Yes.
all of Trinidad and Tobago. My first time back here for the new year. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you.
So Wellness Wednesdays, we're talking about resilience after abuse, keeping in the line of what we were talking about yesterday,
Yes.
particularly with what we're seeing with domestic violence happening and in the past few days here in Trinidad and Tobago. Talk us through it.
Yeah. So what is it? A lot of people might first want to know, what's the connection between wellness and resilience? Or how do we expand ourselves to be able to cope after a traumatic situation? Or how do we more so prevent the onset of this traumatic situation? Abuse here in Trinidad and Tobago extends not just domestic abuse, there's also child abuse. There's so many levels, at so many. Conflict here in Trinidad is high.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that we can do more. There are many institutions that are already doing things. We can do more in how we manage conflict within ourselves. How can we, as an individual, better control our emotions?
How can we?
And
Give
it
us some
starts
tips.
first of all with our mind.
Right.
It starts within our own personal reaction. It starts within removing that judgment level.
Yes.
Too many times we go into reaction mode rather than let's go into action and find a solution mode, right? And how do we connect this to resilience? Why do we need to develop? People talk about resilience a lot. Resilience is one of the skills that is needs to be developed from child into adult. And we have a lot of persons walking around in Trinidad who are pained. A lot of times those reactions are not necessarily based on that specific action. It is based on a multitude.
That would have been compounded over time. Yeah.
That's right. And now we're seeing, because of one stress piled onto another, it is then outburst. So it's like a pressure cooker.
Exactly, yes.
Like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
So how do we prevent that pressure from building up?
Yeah.
First up is acknowledging.
Right.
And acknowledging those emotions, that level of self-awareness, that level of knowing, listen, something is building. I need to either vent, talk,
or take a time out.
take a time out.
Yeah.
You know, most importantly is that time out and that pause, breathe. A lot of persons, so one of the things CISU Global Wellness shares is breathe deeper in that moment of stress. If you allow your brain to go one pathway or the other pathway, it's very binary. You can go negative or you can go positive.
Right.
In taking that pause, you replace that control within your body.
Yeah.
And that's wellness, that's resilience, the ability to have control,
Yes.
no matter how chaotic the environment is.
So instead of getting angry, and reacting during that moment of anger,
Yeah.
you take a pause
Yes.
and think about it, and maybe it might save a life.
It will save a
Yes,
life. It
yeah.
has saved a life many times. Now, of course, the levels of anger, by that time, the emotions are just built up.
Yeah.
The emotions are so multitude and multiplied across the board. It is difficult to get out of it. And as we're training the brain,
Yes.
we have to understand that the brain can do cognitive retraining.
Yes.
How do we do that? Sometimes, and it starts really from childhood, we were having a conversation about, do we teach our children how to feel? Do we allow them to feel? Do we give them the opportunity to be placed in that negative emotion and then see how they interact? A lot of times we, and I probably guilty of it too, cushion them, and they then get into the cycle of learned helplessness, victim behavior, blaming everyone around if they fail, right? Sometimes that, as you say, that moment of pause where we can self-reflect.
Yes.
And not allow the victim behavior, right?
Yeah.
Where we take back that control.
Right.
So that resilience starts from internalization. It starts from really control your impact. So we've focused on to the control. Let's look at what the impact is now. Again, we can either go into two reactions, the deflation, the victimization, right? Or completely stem that and be that positive response. And that breathing, taking that breath,
Yes.
realizing the consequences of the action.
Yes. So it takes a lot of introspection about yourself and your responses and your reactions so that you
Yes.
can take control
Yes.
of yourself
And
and
it's-
your mind.
It starts, that's exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah.
It starts there.
Yes.
It starts in that understanding that you alone have the power of your mind. Often, because of how we've been culturalized, our habits, we tend to feel, yes, blame this one, that's the reason, this is the reason, etc. And not realizing we have that control.
Yes.
So that developing resilience, if I had to give 4 quick little steps,
Yes.
is how do we look at our controlled reaction? How do we look at what is the impact of our reaction, the consequences? Understanding, thirdly, that we have the breadth and the capacity to respond positively. A lot of time that positive response is because of lack of self-esteem,
Right.
lack of confidence, lack of understanding. And then finally, realizing that that built up of emotion, that anxiety, that stress is, and you can determine if it's temporary. So what's the duration,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It is all up to our mind. If we get ourselves into that vicious cycle, we can get ourselves trapped into that deflated mood. And we're not good enough. This happens. And is those negative emotions build one onto the other, onto the other. And a lot of time is self-defeating, paralyzing, wrong.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and not just children do it. Children do it. Adults do it. We do it across the spectrum.
Yeah. But we can make a change once we
Definitely.
understand that we can have control.
Yes.
We can have impact.
Yes.
And we can
Understand that
We have the
capacity.
capacity to be positive and that it's all transient.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is transient.
It is all-
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfectly.
Dr. Saf, thank you so much. I'm going to see you next week, Wednesday.
That's
Once
right.
again on the Now Morning Show, because, of course, on Wednesdays, it is Wellness Wednesdays right here on the Morning Show. When